here. I refresh. I should have a new live going on.
Yep,
There
there
it
it is.
is. I click on the no, view live control room. All right, we're doing better. We're doing better.
And then you just change it, and then go to once we go to public.
Okay, and I'm gonna do this because I gotta put this in here because it makes it better. All right, so I go to public,
We're
done.
also we're I think we're live, by the way. Yeah, we are live.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Everybody was yelling at me. What are you doing? I'm like, oh man, you're not live. That was last week. Now it totally makes sense because I didn't do it at all last time. So now I should be live. Mm, what's that? Maybe it's going to time delay real quick. It's public. It's monetization. It's on. It's on. It's on. It should be live. I don't know, man.
oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, we rolling. Jinx, can you see
Yeah.
me? My good is
What's
this.
up, everybody? I'll get my live up here in a sec.
Oh yeah. I'm live. Brother. I'm live. My dude's popping into my chat on the right side of my studio. Okay, now I just gotta figure out how to see my own chat. Sometimes Nate don't come there.
All right, I'm going. I should be live here as well. All right.
Did Jamerson call you on 1 million today?
Oh no, did he hit 1 million?
No. Did he call you? Was he like, yo?
Oh no, not. I talked to him, or he texted me this morning.
Yeah, he got me this morning. Like it was awesome though. It was an awesome conversation. So
All right, I think we are good.
all right, I'm gonna entertain the
I don't
chat.
see anybody. I don't see anybody in my live. Hold on.
I got
Let
people
me,
in my live. Oh yeah, we there. Nah, I gotta figure out how to get it open. Get my chat open. Oh man. My chat open, but there ain't nobody in it. What's up, Jinx? Hey man, I'm gonna hold it down a little bit. Nate's gonna go take
All
care
right,
of
I think
some.
I'm good.
He's gonna kill it. There's a bear in his backyard in Oregon. He's gonna go kill the
Yeah, I'll be
bear.
back. 1 second.
Yep.
We'll get started.
Yo, okay, so here's the topics for today. We on the Valhalla VFT. And you know what channel you on over here. I didn't take no magic tasty gains. I didn't take them today, but I'm on fire, man. I'm making a hydroponic strawberry planter today. I just finished it up, man, waiting for some chemicals to come in. We're going to fire up some strawberries in the backyard. Growing vertical, man, growing vertical. Real quick, we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about quitters. So I had a quitter at Buds. It was very telling. I got a big video coming out about it. We're gonna talk about quitters for the first 30 minutes in Special Forces Selection, AFAS, the Q course, and then we're gonna talk about China. We got a little video with your boy the Reaper. We're gonna break it down. Me and Nate had an argument last night about it. We were fighting at like midnight. I said, yo, we got to hit that last 30 minutes on this China problem. The Chinese talking about this war. Let me tell y'all something, man. It's going to be a good one. What do y'all want to hear in the comments? Hey, man, I encourage all of you guys to shoot me an email and just say, hey, man, this is what we want to hear on these. Obviously, me and Nate been rolling. We're going to have a shootout. Nate's coming out here to San Antonio. We're going to try to get the whole war room out here. We're going to be shooting Navy SEAL, PJ, Green Berets, my man Ben Pappas, Marsoc Marine. Hey, if you guys that aren't following Ben Pappas, Ben's tuning up his YouTube. It's Ben Pappas, Pappas 1 over on YouTube. Go over there and follow him real quick. Obviously, go over and follow the War Room if you're not following our Friday night jam session. No, I agree with y'all. China don't want that smoke, man. China don't want that smoke. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be a good conversation because I worked somewhere where it was kind of crazy. All right, Nate, I told him
I'm back.
talking about quitting, and then we hitting China.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about there. Cool. All right. I got everybody. Welcome. 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 Everybody in the chat. I see you. Sorry, I had to. Right before we literally went live, of course, because this is the way. Wait. You guys see me?
I see you.
Okay. I don't see me on my on my stream. Must be lagging behind. Uh, so I literally yanked a cord right before we went to live and like ripped my camera off the tripod, my microphone on the ground. So of course, we're a little bit behind.
Of
Yeah, I had to ditch the
course.
sleeves too. It's hot as shit in the house. All right, cool.
Hey, no, no, no. You know, it's interesting you said that because I was like, Nate has sleeves on. He's wearing a legit shirt today. But then
I
Nate
can't. I
went,
can't.
got rid of all his stuff, and now he's back to caveman Nate with a loincloth.
Yeah. All right. So excited about this one today. It's going to be fun. I think, man, I'm sure you've got some great quitter stories. I know I do. Um, from NFL players to all kinds of stuff that I've seen happen. So, and then yes,
Yep.
second half we'll talk about war with China, what it looks like. Does Nate actually know what he's talking about? Jake's pretty well spun up on a lot of this stuff too. So I think it'll be a really good conversation. So why don't we
Absolutely, brother.
why don't we jump into this bad boy?
Okay, so I just shot a video with a young man, and this is one of the things that I try to explain to people that you can't put into words. Okay, a lot of people when they get to training are in shock of the savagery that is going on. Okay, and a lot of people. So my young man, that just quit 2 weeks ago, was called me on a Tuesday like, Jake, everybody is so crazy. They're so mean. Like, I'm like, hey, bro, this is the land, man. Like, you're going to the land of savages, bro. This is not the land of like fucking ice cream and lollipops. It just ain't.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what do I need to do? I said, punch the first motherfucker that says something to you in the face. What? I can't. Oh, what? I'm like, yeah, man, that's your answer. Okay. So the next day he goes out. He's killing it. He leaves all his equipment for the swim in his personal cage back at the barracks. He don't have no equipment. They go to the quitters.
Ah,
There's a bunch of drops. All their gear is still in there. He hodgepodges his life jacket, his knife, his flare, and his fins. He goes out to muster. Obviously, they see that none of the stuff is his. They
oh
beat
my
him
god.
and his swim buddy. And then he goes on a 2-mile swim and quits. Like pretty much half of the way into the swim, he quits. Okay. And cats ask me, and I tell them, and I don't know how it is for you guys, but we know who's gonna quit from the beginning. Like you could tell
Yeah,
who's gonna quit.
that's interesting. I would say typically, but I got a few stories of guys. I think you probably have some too. Sometimes you'll have like onesies and twosies who you're like that dude's a shoe in. He's gonna make it for sure, and then they'll just blindside you and fucking quit out of nowhere.
Okay,
I don't know
so
if you got any of that, but I
our,
will
our
agree. Like typically,
yeah,
typically like 98% of the dudes, you're like, yeah, that dude ain't gonna make it. You
I ain't
you
gonna
just
make it.
know.
But I will say this: in SEAL training, you cannot hang your hat on anyone. Anyone. Like I
Yeah.
don't care how well they're doing. They may, and you be like, oh my god, what?
Well, you guys have the water, man. And the thing about the fucking water is like day one, you're fine. Day five, you're fine. And then all of a sudden, like day seven, it's like time to get back underneath the fucking water again and like do fucking crossovers over and over and over again and fucking, start doing 50s again. And like, I mean, I've been there before where you're just like, fuck this, dude. Like it's
Well,
just it's just a whole nother level of like all of a sudden can like overwhelm someone's brain and make them make a decision to quit they never would have. SF, it's ours is like just this constant sleep depth, food depth, heavy rut grind that you can sort of just zone out a lot of the times. There were so many times where you just fucking zoned out walking. You're like, this sucks. But you just do it, right? And you just keep going, and you just keep walking. But that fucking water, dude, where it's like, hey, do ditch and dawn for the 10th fucking time in a row.
mm-hmm,
And like dudes
mm-hmm.
are just like, they'll come up and just be like, nah, fuck this, man. So I think that's like
So
a big for quitting. I feel like the SEALs probably have more guys quit than we do in SFAS. We have a lot of guys not pass. We have a lot of guys not like land navigation, right? Like not very many dudes are quitting at land nav, but it's going to wipe out 20 to 30% of the class due to failures. What's your take on that?
And we're going to talk about like the difference is you guys are, let's say average age of somebody in AFAS is at least 25, if not a little higher,
Yeah,
correct?
probably average. Yeah, probably around 25.
And our average age is like 22 years old. So there's a huge maturity difference. And pretty much, unless you're 18 X-ray, all your guys are coming with some experience into the Green Berets, right? They're not just coming straight off the street. All of our guys are coming straight off the street, unless they're a prior Marine. Those dudes murder it, okay?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just think like for us, the water. But I'm gonna tell you this. So the things in my opinion, lack of preparation, and
Mm.
then
Yeah. Yeah.
inability to be tough, right? So like have grit. Do you have grit? Are you a gritty individual? Because I'm going to tell you, like, one of the worst things is running around with all of your scuba gear for miles with rubber booties on, carrying your fins, tanks, like mask on, like you got everything on, like you're going on a dive, and you are traversing around, like from the wet side to the dry side, mile and a half, right?
Yeah.
You get done with the dive, you're running back, mile and a half in booties, right? Like
Oh. Ugh.
with I mean, you got 80 pounds of gear on. It's all on
Yeah.
your back. It ain't situated right. It's none of it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, but the quitting part of it, I think, is interesting because, when I talk to the young men, I had a dude that came to me really late. He was already in buds. I got a phone call, and it was Sunday night, and he goes, "I don't think anybody's gonna quit, Jake." I said,
Yeah,
"What?"
that's not a thing.
He goes, "Man, we have an amazing class. We got great leadership." And I'm like, "Hey, bud, this ain't he came over from the Air Force. This ain't no fucking Air Force course, buddy. Like
Yep.
50% of the motherfuckers are gonna be gone on Friday." No, he's arguing with me. I said, as soon as he started arguing, I said, "This motherfucker's gonna quit." And sure enough, he quit on Thursday. Called me like, "Man, like I can't do this." He had a wife and a young kid, and I had told him in the beginning, it's a
Oh man,
really bad.
that's one we should. I think that I'd like to
We can
talk
talk about
about,
it. Yeah.
kind of talk about like what makes guys quit. Okay, now I don't always think it's like just a lack of toughness or intestinal fortitude or anything like that. Sometimes I think
Yep.
it's things like that, right? Like, for example, I had one buddy who wife, three kids. His wife was former Navy. She had gotten out, and dude, she did not want him in the military. She was fucking done with the military. Like, hey, get the fuck out. We don't need to be here. We want to be like a regular life, right? But he wanted to be a Green Beret, and I can tell you, man, he ended up quitting midway through the Q course. And he was a stellar dude. He was one of those dudes where I'm like, yeah, this guy's gonna make it, right? And it was just his wife constantly dragging him on, like, I don't want to be in this life, right? And so he ends up making that decision. For me, I think it might be interesting to talk about the mentality of quitting. I think it really is a mentality. I think you have people, and the type of person that becomes a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret has sort of bypassed like this mental block of quitting. And I think this is why I think it's really important for your kids, if they do sports or whatever, you don't force them to do anything, right? But if they sign up for track for a
Yep.
season, you cannot let them quit midway through it. They have to
Ye-
complete it. They don't have to do it after that, right? But they have to complete that season, because I think once you breed the mentality of quitting, once you quit once, it is so easy to continue to quit. So for you, what do you think in your did you ever like, because it's funny, I talk to guys that have made it through, and it's like there's always times where like this is the fucking worst. Was there ever a time where you were like, I should just fucking quit, where you really were actually close?
so
Because
I'm gonna
not
be honest.
a lot of guys never had that. Like, and I'll tell you my story with that. But it's
So I'm
interesting, I think, to talk about.
I'm gonna say this because Buds was really fun for me. Okay. But I grew up in a household where it was nothing to wake up on Saturday and do 6 hours of manual labor, six
Mm,
hours of moving rocks, 6 hours of digging. Like
yeah.
we were poor, man. We ain't had no money, so everything got fixed by my hands or my dad's hands, you know. And so I think it was different. I also wrestled in college, man, and
Yeah.
if you ask
I think
me,
that's a big one.
wrestling in college was, I normally use 10 times. I will say wrestling in college for me was 10 times harder than any day at Buds. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Buds was 10 months, long, drawn out, fucking suck
Hmm.
factor. But for me, like if I had showed up, I showed up 100% out of shape. I just came off a ship. I hadn't worked out. Now, I was in shape in May, wrestled on the All Navy wrestling team. I was in world class shape. Okay. But I got asthma real bad. So if I don't run for fucking a week, I'm done. All right. But
Yeah.
for me, like, dude, it was so much fun. Like, you got to pee your pants, man. Like, you'd be on a run and you'd be like,
Yeah,
fuck it.
yeah.
You
Or a
just,
ruck march. Yeah, a lot of
yeah, you
times I
just,
would you just piss, dude. Fuck it.
yeah, like I would take it out and spray, right? Like, spray off to the side, you know,
Dude, there
like,
was there was ruck marches we would do in like monsoons where I would just piss my pants, dude. Like your pants are
yep,
so soaked, you're just like whatever. I'm not gonna. I'm jogging with a rucksack for 12 miles. I'm not gonna stop.
I'm not
But yeah, you're
stopping.
not wrong.
No.
Yeah.
But so, so that aspect of it, the other aspect that I just fucking love was the savagery, bruh. Like, you don't fucking, like, like, hey, like, one of my officers was a young officer, fresh out of fucking OCS. He was a good dude, but he was kind of a little bit like he was out of place. But he went up to Ardak with Captain Bassett and got fucking trained up, and he was fucking crushing it. He was the fastest runner in our class, and he fucking was talking shit to one of the E3s who had been to Buds already, who was a fucking savage. And I was just kind of listening, like, man, that ain't how you really talk to people. And then he said, "You'll do what I fucking say, E3." I was like,
Oh,
ooh, hey,
that's
circle up, right?
so. Hey, let me just ask because I think I love these conversations because we get to learn like intricate things about SFAS and the Q course compared to Buds. Do
Yeah.
you guys? So when you talked about like that is a huge fucking no in SFAS. Not only that, but you don't wear rank in SFAS. Like
So
nobody wears their rank. Everybody's a fuzzy. So and it's for that reason. Like there is no fucking pulling rank on someone in the qualification course or in SFAS. Everyone's an equal. Is that how it is at Buds as well?
no. Officers, there's rank. Everybody got their rank on. So like, but now
Oh,
here's
okay.
the deal. Here's what I'm gonna say. If you pull rank, you fucking better be ready. Like I never pulled rank one fucking time, right? Like there's not one
Right.
time I was like, hey, I'm a JG, you're a fucking ensign, do what I say do,
Well,
right?
and if you're a good leader, you really shouldn't need to, you
You
know.
don't
But
need to. So anyway, we circled the class up. We had a fight, okay? And the E3 beat the fucking ensign. Like, we ain't let him beat him up bad, right? But like he smoked him a couple
yeah,
times in the face. And then I was like, okay, are you good, ensign? And he was like looking at me. I'm like, bro, man, treat everybody with respect, man. We don't
yeah,
like that motherfucker's just as important as you are. Like, you
yeah.
know, and you guys are over here bitching about something like it's probably stupid in the first place. And so, like, I love that, right? Like, I love the fact that you could just grab a motherfucker and punch him in the face and be like, hey, you motherfucker. And I got punched in the face. Okay. Like, I was on my last time 4 mile swim. If I didn't pass, I was getting either kicked out or rolled. I was swimming for my life and I fucking broke. Like, I broke 400 yards from the boat. I was fucking
Yeah.
crying, like, and John Zen, rest his soul, punched me right in the face. Wham! We don't have time for this shit. Swim! Oh, okay. And we passed by 20 seconds. There was 4 people that passed the swim out of the whole class.
That's
Like
funny.
22 people got rolled out of my class right there, which 11 swim pairs, which is fucking crazy. I didn't remember this story. I remembered my part of it, but
Yeah.
I love the savage nature of the business because that's how I grew up. I love to fight, man. I love to fight. Yeah, give me if I could fight every day, like I like just a good fist fight, man. Like the adrenaline and like like. But I know I was a little bit different, but I'll tell you this: a lot of the dudes are the same way, man. Like,
So, well, with my original question, did you ever have a time where you actually like legitimately were like I should quit? Did it ever even come into your brain?
let me say this. I'll tell you, I will stand corrected. In SEAL training and training, absolutely not. Like that shit was the funnest shit in the world. The hardest shit in the world. Like, cause it was, I related back to wrestling. I got to eat, I got to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I had to do was work hard. I could work hard. Now, I'll tell you when I started thinking about quitting. When I got into the SEAL teams and my race became a major issue. Okay.
Well, yeah, back in the '90s, right? That's a whole
In
different
the 90s, I was the
environment
only
than it is now.
and it was I am mature enough to now to understand that I had a huge role in it. Okay?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you called me the N-word, I beat the living shit out of you. And
yeah.
so what happened was more guys were like, "Oh, that's the scab. Pick the scab. Pick the scab." But it wasn't until I got into my platoon with shitty ass Keith Burney, the worst fucking officer in the community, who had already been fired 3 times, and I couldn't do anything right. And I was just
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'm out of here, bro. Like I'm gonna do this platoon and I'm fucking out of here.
So
Like,
I like that because I like what you're talking about here when we talk about when guys quit. That's what I want to talk about next. And it can be I've watched dudes quit on fucking ODAs, man. So that's an interesting topic. What I want to talk. Let me do a super chat real quick, and then we'll
go
jump
ahead. Oh,
into
I got
talking
some
about
too.
when.
Go ahead. Let's do them.
All
Let's
right,
do them.
we'll address the super chats and we'll jump back into it. All right, from Skeptic, $20. Thank you, brother. Very generous. Appreciate that. Have any of you guys worked with Larry C. Johnson at JSOC? He's an ex-CIA guy who works with SOF at JSOC. I was never at JSOC, brother. I didn't get that high, so I personally didn't. I don't know if
I got the
Jake may
same
have or
20.
not, but
I got the same 20 from Skeptic. Skeptic, no, I don't know who that is, brother. Obviously I was in vanilla teams pre 9/11. I didn't get to see all that craziness. So
yeah. So JSOC, yeah, I wasn't at JSOC, so that's above my pay grade, homie. But all right, so when guys quit, this is an interesting one. When, which phase or like when did you see like guys quit the most? I think for us in Special Forces assessment and selection, land nav's a big one, man. Like dudes that are fucking lost, right? It's 7 hours in, they haven't found their first point, they don't know where the hell they are, they're stuck in a draw. Oh man, that like North Carolina swamps at night, that gets a lot of dudes. Team week, surprisingly, like that's kind of our hell week, and you're obviously familiar with it.
yep,
Not as
yep.
many because it's one of those things of like it's just a physical suck fest. Whereas land navigation fucks with your brain, right? It's not
Yeah.
that hard. You're
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
walking around the forest. But man, like when you get lost and it's nighttime and you start to panic and you don't know where you're going, man, I think for us at SFAS at least, that was definitely where I saw the most quitters.
So
What about
so
for you
I'm gonna
guys?
for us it's like a drip. Okay. So you have call it 8 weeks of ramp up, 6 weeks of ramp up, okay, pre-buds, whatever you want to call it. Nobody's yelling, nobody's screaming, but you're doing a volume of work. Every morning somebody's going to quit. You're going to have 2 or 3 guys quit. So you're going to start day one with probably between 200 and 250 guys. Okay. You're going to class up with somewhere around 120 to 100. All right.
So
So you're
that's
going to lose.
finishes buds.
No, 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 no. Just the day one of training. Like day one, you're going to
Oh,
lose. You're going to
God.
lose. You're going to lose probably 75 people before you even get to training. And this is where it gets
Okay,
crazy, Nate. This is where
I
it
see what
gets
you're saying.
crazy. So let's say you start day one. We'll just use a round number 100. Okay. You are going to have 10 people quit every day until Friday. And you will be down to 50 on Friday in 1 week. And then like and the
Is there
crazy
water involved in this, or is this just
oh
like
every day.
PT and
Every day.
same?
No,
Okay,
every day.
okay.
Every day. Every day. So like
So put
you're
like pool
starting.
comp stuff.
No, 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 no. Yeah, the swimming pool you're tied up though. Like you got your
Yeah, yeah,
feet are
that's what I
tied up.
mean.
You're
Like
practicing ground proofing.
yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. You're doing like your
Yeah.
we call it MAC Maritime Assessment Course events.
Yes.
But yeah, yeah, okay. So
You're
you're
in the
doing that type
pool.
of stuff.
You're in the pool
Yeah, which
every day.
sucks.
But here's where it's crazy. I think they ramp up the number of instructors. So there's M60s, there's flashbangs, there's grenade simulators, and there's smoke grenades at pretty much every event.
Right.
And cats start saying, oh my God, it's going to be like this every day. It's going to be like this every day.
Right.
Every day. And then after that, like then you got tests. Like you got drown proofing. You're going to lose a couple people. You got a 50-meter underwater swim. For whatever reason, I've seen people pass out when they jump in the pool. Like they swim 4 strokes. They not even a quarter of the way across the pool and they pass out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and then you have that. You got treading water. You got about 5 evolutions that are going to get some people. And then obvious for us, you got Hell Week, right? And Hell Week is another one of those things where like it's just voodoo. Like weird shit happens. Like I tell this story real quick. Okay, so we're at the Bayside. We get attacked by these arthropods. They cut us. We're bleeding. Everybody's
Right.
bleeding. So we stand up. I'm like, holy shit. Everybody has just got blood running down. So the instructors are like, no, get back in the water. I'm like, fuck you. We get out of the water. They're like, oh shit. So then like, okay. So they let us, this is SEAL training. We were butt ass naked in the water getting eaten alive by these arthropods. Put your clothes back on. We're going to get back in the water. 3 or 4 dudes quit right there, okay? The water
Yeah.
was cold. Air temp was 37 degrees. We get in the water. They have this thing called Lion's Lope where you just like do like this. And I kept watching this boat crew, and they were angling towards this little dock. We were maybe like 20 yards off the beach. Like, we're just parallel on the beach. I'm like, God, what are they doing, man? Like, and it wasn't hard. Like, you're just cold. The whole boat crew got out. The whole boat crew, all 7 of them. I was like, hey, where you going? We're quitting.
All of them.
All 7
Oh,
of them,
well, that's,
okay?
hey, man, I'll tell you this, though. I'm sure you've seen this. Quitting is contagious out
Oh,
there, brother.
yeah, brother. Oh,
It is.
yeah.
When one guy does it, it opens the floodgates. It's almost like people that are gonna quit are kind of just like waiting for confirmation in their own brain, like, oh, see, it's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
Other people are
Yep.
doing it too. I would see that
Yep.
a lot. I was actually gonna talk about a story with that after once you're
So
done.
at that one evolution, those 7 dudes quit. 4 dudes quit from the bugs biting them, right? The arthropods. And then the biggest, baddest dude in our class, 6'7", 240 pounds, soda can abs, Alaskan outdoor musher, walked up, and I was standing. He's like, I want to be free like the dolphins. So the marine mammal program was right behind us. You could see the dolphins,
What?
right? Yeah, yeah.
Was this
He's
Hell
like,
Week?
yeah, Hell Week. Tuesday of Hell
Okay,
Week.
so yeah. All right.
I want to be free like the dolphins. I was like, what? He's like, I don't want to be here no more. And he just started bawling, man. And the instructors were like, come with us. But it's a
Yeah,
like
yeah.
6'7", 240, just shredded dude. And he just broke, man.
Yeah, I mean that's a 100%. Like it don't matter how big, strong, fast, fit you are. Like the quitting bug doesn't really care about that. You'll see some of the biggest, strongest dudes, most fit dudes in the class quit, and you'll see the dudes who are like, 98th percentile on every event that just keep trucking along, and they'll end up making it through. For us, I'm sure you have like quitting fuck games where instructors do stuff to like kind of not trick guys into quitting, but like incentivize quitting. So for us, SFAS, a huge one, land navigation, what they'll do. I was there in SFAS in December, and it was like 35 degrees and pissing rain the entire time, which is just like the worst possible conditions. So everybody did when you're out land nav for 4 or 5 days and it just has rained the entire time. You're wet. You're just literally soaking wet the entire time.
Yep.
And what they'll do is you'll get back from land navigation and the instructors will have big ass barbecues and burn barrels, and they'll be roasting hot dogs, cooking beer, or not cooking beer, sorry, drinking beer, cooking hot dogs, burgers. And then you come up when you get done with land nav and you like are at your little poncho 40 feet away from all this going on. And the instructors will be like, hey man, you tired of getting fucking pissed on by this rain? Come over here, dude. Hot dogs, burgers, warm clothes, fire, beer. All you got to do is V-dub. All you got to do is
What
quit.
what would happen if you just ran over there and took a fucking hot dog?
Oh, you'd get dropped. I'm sure they wouldn't let you do it. But my point is it's
They would
like,
drop you
oh, if you ran over there and took a hot dog,
and just
no, yeah,
fucking
you're,
ate
you're
it
going
right in
to,
front of them.
well, you're going to, yeah, I mean, that's like basically to go over there, you're quitting, right? Like that's where the quitting section is. So my point
Okay.
is,
Okay.
quitting is, again, you've been out there for 3 days, you barely slept or barely slept at all, right? You're hungry, you're tired, you're 2 weeks into SFAS, you're tired of getting pissed on, you're shivering. I'm sitting on my ruck wearing flip flops in 36-degree weather under a poncho, just getting pissed on for hours. And you're
Yep.
just looking at like, and they're just like, hey, come on over. And you would be
So
amazed at how many guys would get back from an entire day at land nav, brother. They would do 12-hour land navigation course in the dark, pissing rain, pass the day, and then like, and they'll do it in the morning too. That's the most fucked up thing is they'll have the fires out and the food ready in the morning. So when you wake up to go step off on your next 12-hour iteration, if you or at night, whatever we're doing, and it's just like that's when, dude, I swear that wake up after the worst stuff, it's not the events. You don't see that many people quit during the events. It's like when the event's complete or the next morning wake up after a really brutal day where, dude, people, it's like the floodgates open and people just like get out of their sleeping bags and are like, nope, fuck, no, like
so
I'm
Nate,
out.
so in Hell Week, winners get hot showers. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I refuse. I'm like,
We
fuck
have
you.
we have we have that in team week when like the winners get hot chow if you get back from
Yeah,
tech.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
we do
like
have some
like
incentives.
like I can remember sitting there and the instructor's like, get in the shower. I'm like, nope, not getting in the shower. They're like, you have to take a hot shower. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not getting in the shower. I would put my so you got new clothes every 12 hours because you had to go through a health and welfare inspection and they
Yeah.
had new clothes for you.
Well, you
And
guys are wet with the sand and everything the entire
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like
Like
that'll
they
fuck
trying
you
to.
up.
Had a kid in '94 almost lose his leg to bacterial infection. So they
Yeah.
were like,
Yeah.
you had to get disinfected. The doctor fucking butt naked looked at every inch of your body, bottom of your feet, and then you got to put dry clothes on.
Yeah.
I washed my clothes. They had the sanitary bucket with this green shit in it. It might have been simple green. I would wash
It
my
probably
clothes in,
it probably
wash
was, yeah.
yeah, wash my clothes in there, wash them in the shower, and put them right back on wet. Because I was like, well,
Yep.
fuck, I'm taking a hot shower and putting dry clothes on. But I'm gonna tell you what got people to buzz. There's two things that I used to just be like, oh God, do not do that one. Hypothermic dudes would go
Oh
to the
yeah.
hot tub until their temperature was back to 98.7 and they would pull them right out of that fucking hot tub, put their clothes back on, and send them right back out there into the water. And them dudes would just crack like eggs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ah! And then the other one that I never understood, at the end of every run, they would be like, the number is 3. We will stop this run when 3 people quit.
We
And then
yeah, we do that too. Yeah.
we would run by the compound and somebody would quit. And
Yeah.
there's
Let me
one. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give you an example of what we do with that too at SFAS. Dude, like the trick fuckery, right? The instructors are
Mm-hmm.
good at this stuff. What we do, or the instructors do a lot of times out of SFAS. So if anybody's gonna go to SFAS, here's a little fucking fun tip not to quit when this happens. So after like a full day of team week, right? Where like you get back, you're completely broken. You made it. You got your chow. You're literally like it's about midnight, so you're finally allowed to go to sleep. You get into bed. It's like 12:04, right? And boom, the lights come on. Everybody get your fucking rucksacks on. We're going for a fucking ruck march. Now again, like you, this is your little 4-hour window of sleep. You're in the third week of SFAS. This is like your one time where you finally get a recoup a little bit. And again, team week, the next day of team week's coming in 4 hours. So they get everybody up, rucksacks on, fucking outside, line everybody up, start the fucking ruck march, right? Here we go. And bro, like you just said, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that just fucking throw the rucksack down, ring the bell, we're out. And bro, you know what they would do? They would walk us around the barracks and then put us right back in our rooms and say, go to fucking sleep. It was like a 3-minute rucksack march, but people didn't know that. And they would just do that. And dude, people would just fucking quit. And then those dudes that quit are like sitting there 3 minutes later as everybody goes back up to the barracks. And it's like,
But
yeah,
but but Nate, you know as well as I do, when you get out into the real world, there's shit that you like. I'm gonna tell you, the real world don't training does not compare at all to the real world. Like it's fuck. I got training is kindergarten. You get out in the real fucking world. Like we had a whole SEAL platoon almost die. Hypothermia, got caught in the swamps of North Carolina. SEAL Team 4, fucking 99, big ass exercise. Fucking Commander Winters was a maniac from Dev Group. Told them motherfuckers to get going. They fucking had to do a mission. They were in the middle of the swamp. They got lost. They got hypothermia. They had to call the fucking Coast Guard to come in and boom them out. Like no
Yeah.
bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. Like you swimming in the bay, like in the East Coast, it's 42-degree water temp, and you're fucking doing an ocean swim, a 3 mile ocean swim in fucking December, breaking ice.
But that's also, so for the viewers who don't understand why our training is so fucked up and so hard, what Jake's talking about right there, the reason why our training is so hard and we weed out all of the people that have any quit in them, and I'm talking about like the most of the guys that pass, you literally would have to kill them. You would have
Yeah,
to actually kill them to get them to quit.
yeah.
And guess what? On an operational mission like you're talking about, there's no quitting. You don't just get a quit in the middle of the North Carolina swamp by yourself. There's no fucking instructors there to come get you, right? To take you, back to the fire. You're out there with your team. Same thing in combat, right? Like there's no just like you don't just sit down and give up. So you cannot have any quit inside of any of these dudes because when you do get in a situation like that, you can't have dudes just giving up. It's just
No, no, you
it's not the way
can't
it works.
because the second thing is there ain't a lot of you.
Yeah.
Like for you
Yeah.
guys, there's 12. You might
Right.
have 10 people on the mission. How many people would you roll out the door with out of the 12?
Well, I mean, it depends on what we're doing. Like bigger combat operations, you're gonna have. Well, actually, there were some missions we had like 9 dudes, man, because we had
That,
guys
that
injured, guys had
that's what
gotten
I'm
blown
saying.
up a mission
Yeah.
before. So yeah, it's. Well, and
So
then you
we
have a bunch
op.
of fucking you have a bunch of partner force. Like that's it. So yeah, you might have
Yeah.
like, but we're also, if we're doing operations, we're not all together. We're gonna be split up across huge wafts of area. So you
Yep.
have like one other American with you, man.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and that's
And
it.
so for us, we do a
And
lot of
if
4-man
he
games.
quits, yeah.
We got a lot of 4-man games, right? We got a lot of 8-man games. Very seldom do we have 16-man games, right? Even then, it might be 14-man games because you're gonna have 2 people hurt. You're gonna have somebody doing something like, okay, we got a bunch of moving parts. We need a liaison over here
Yeah,
so that we
somebody's
don't
up
get
at
screwed.
Bagram because they're an LNO. Yeah, there's like always
Yep.
somebody you got to do something for
Yep.
sure.
And so then it's like you start looking around. You got 4 people. I mean, I'm not gonna throw my boy under the bus, but one dude threw his gun down and ran away from the gunfight, and everybody got killed.
Yeah, that
You
happens,
know,
right?
so
Yeah, we know. There's more of those stories than people realize. Unfortunately, they don't all
yeah.
end in the Operation Red Wings fashion, but that can happen. All right, I think
All
yeah, we're
right,
fucking.
that's
That was a pretty
it.
good
We're
one.
good.
Let's move into the
That was a banger.
spiciness.
All right. Look at your super chats. I got There was a question in here that I thought was good.
We're good stuff
Okay,
for
so
me.
someone asked me why would I keep wet clothes on? Okay, so I grew up
Mm.
in Washington State. I know what it's like to be wet and miserable. The last thing you want to do is put on dry clothes and feel all good
And
and
then get
then
wet again.
walk right back outdoors and get in the decon shower and be wet again. So
Hmm.
my personal opinion is I would rather be as miserable as I possibly can 100% of the time until it's time to actually stop whatever I'm doing. So I'm
Yep.
not ever gonna come in and get a hot coffee. Like they were handing out hot cups of coffee and stuff like that. I burned my tongue the first time I had some hot broth. After that, I didn't take none of their hot shit. Like fuck it, I don't want none of it. I don't want none of it. So I thought that was a good question. What do you got?
Uh, No, I'm good on chats, but I wanted to caveat on that what you just said, which is important. It's much like I said with why guys quit when they wake up in the morning, or why guys quit once training is finally over. Like for whatever reason, again, just during the suck, very very few people quit. It's once they are comfortable, and the idea of going back into the suck after being comfortable, that's what makes I think the majority of the guys quit.
I got one more wrap up, Nate. Okay, I think it's important to understand. You talked about your family deal. I wanted to tell this story. Okay,
Yeah, that was a big anti-quit for me, but
I had a young man that was going to selection, so to AFAS out of Georgia. Good country dude. Okay, 2 kids, young kids, a wife, real religious, tough dude, tough guy, man. Like he was fucking. I was like, man, okay. I'm like, look, man, I don't think you should go. He's like, I'm going. Okay. All right. I don't think you should go. Why? You got kids, you got a wife, like you're the mainstay of the family. You're gonna disappear for 3 years.
yeah.
I think gotta look after us. Okay. you're going to hell. There ain't no God in hell. Okay, all right, like
Yeah, the where you're
damn.
headed, there
Okay,
ain't no God. Yeah, that's
God don't
true.
exist in that thing called fucking buds. Okay,
Not
so
at Camp McCall either, man. Yeah.
yep. So he goes AFAS, calls me on Thursday. I said, what happened, man? He was crying. I said, listen, man, it's all right, bro. He said, this is the first time in my life. He said, I've been with my wife since 12 years old,
Mm,
since the sixth grade. He's like, this is the first time in my life that I haven't talked to her in 24 hours. And
yep.
I hadn't talked to her in 5 days. And I can't do this, man. Like he was crying. I just say, Bud, like, it ain't for everybody, man. You made a
Yep.
good run at it. Like, keep your head up.
100%. It's definitely not for everybody. I mean, I've told the story of, like most guys are going to lose their wives in the Q course, me included. It's like it's the reality of it. If you're willing to sacrifice what you need to sacrifice to spend 2 years plus earning a green beret, it's tough to do. Like obviously, lots of guys made it through with wives and kids, and they were just fine. But I'll tell you, 100% of them that did, their wives are all super independent, strong, badass chicks, dude. If your wife is like highly emotionally and everything dependent on you, and there's nothing wrong with that, like at all. I'm just saying, when I say it's not for everybody, it's not just the dude trying out. It's also the families, right? Some families, man, these like my current wife, she's badass, dude, no issues. But
My, my,
not
my,
not all not all SF, like not all women can handle being an SF wife, I
my,
think
my,
is where
my
I'm
little
going with
hippie
that.
girlfriend, my little gypsy girl from Washington State. Okay, come back from Puerto Rico. She got the paper. Dev Group was in Colombia and dude got killed. Okay, you were in Colombia? No, I was in fucking Puerto Rico, Rosie Roads, fucking free diving every fucking day. I wasn't doing shit. You're lying to me. You're a fucking killer. You're a killer. Like I'm gonna marry a killer. I'm like, look, first of all, I ain't killing nobody. I was fucking on a dive trip. Like, fucking relax. Okay? Boom. This is Saturday afternoon. I got back. The Admiral got pissed we left early. Okay? This is back when we were trying to keep us under 200 days away from home. Fucking
Mm,
impossible. Okay?
yeah.
I get a phone call at 3 in the morning. Hey, bird leaves at 6. Be on it. Out of NOB. We're all just meeting there. Don't bring no gear. Fuck whatever. We're going to meet you. Plane takes off at 6. Be there. So she's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I got to go back to Rosie Rose. She fucking hyperventilates and passes out on the fucking floor, bruh. I'm
Oh
like,
my god.
I put her in the truck. I drop her off at the fucking emergency room. That's the last time I saw her. When
Yeah.
I got
I
back, when
mean,
I got back from that trip, she wasn't in that. All her shit was cleaned out. She took her
yep.
gypsy ass back to Washington State.
Yep.
So
I mean, I've had the same thing happen to me. All right, real quick, super chats came in right after that. Plight Designs, $10. Thank you very much, brother. I'd love to do an in-depth look into the Reaper video talking about U.S. versus China. Well, we're about to talk about that right
we're
now.
about to do it, baby. I got the same
Uh,
$10.
Amateurs talk tactics, pros talk logistics, and the U.S. an absolute pro at logistics and training. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can talk about that, and we're about to get into that. That's the second half of the video. $2 from
I
Fred Hill. Who's tougher, today's SF or Vietnam's SF? Depends on what you mean by tougher. It's interesting because I get to have this conversation with my dad all the time. Um, there's something to be said for the Vietnam era dudes, man. Like, one, the jungle is fucking brutal. I would never have wanted to fight in the jungle. Also, like the A camp dudes, these dudes were like getting shot at like 280 out of 360 days a year. Like, not we didn't really face anything like that in the global war on terror. Most of the time, maybe early in the war, right, on some fobs, but like it was just a completely different war and just the jungle in itself. But at the same time, there's things that we did in the global war on terror they didn't have to. We carry 150 pounds on our bodies for 12 to 16 hours at a time. They didn't, right? They were in the jungle. They carried 30 to 40 pounds, right? So from a toughness standpoint, I don't think either generation is tougher. I think it is the demographic of man is the same all the way through from World War One to World War Two to Vietnam to now. The type of man that goes and becomes a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret has this common thread of insane toughness in them, where it's hard to say like who's tougher, right? Because you could transport Vietnam dudes to today or transport JWAP dudes back to Vietnam, and it would probably be very, pretty much similar in my opinion.
Same thing, man. I was at Buds in May for my first graduation since I left 25, 30 years ago. And there was fucking 8 brand new dudes in the backs, and you knew they were SEALs. And I'm like, yep, that's what a fucking new SEAL looks like. The fastest runner,
Yeah.
the fastest swimmer,
Yep.
bad motherfucker. And then there was all my dudes that were a little bit older. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yep, and that's what the older dudes look like, beat the fuck up. One dude
Yeah. That's
standing in the
true.
back because his back's fucked up, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, dude. That's
awesome,
like the
brother.
indicative of every SF. Maybe not Rangers because they're so young, but like every SF unit has that same thing. You have like all the first 3, 4 year dudes that are all just absolute like Adonis physical gods, and then you have like the 10+ year dudes that are just all just fucking almost fat and just fucked up from 5 to 10 surgeries. All right, let's jump
All right,
into
let's transition.
China. China. China.
China. We're
All
going
right,
to
if you haven't watched
China.
If you haven't watched the video I put out, all right, you should go do that. It's a short clip. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. A former Ranger Nick Irving basically talking about how China would absolutely crush and destroy the United States, and it wouldn't be close, and they'd send us back to the Stone Age, and yada 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 yada. So what we're going to talk about is obviously I did my take on that. Is that realistic? What does war with China actually look like? Okay, I would say, I mean, Jake are both going to tell you up front, we're going to work in hypotheticals, okay? Because the reality of like the United States and China going to real war where one side invades the other country, that ain't going to happen, homies. Not in the foreseeable future because our economies are so intertwined and all that. But from a hypothetical, if we did, that's what we're going to discuss. Okay, my take is people drastically overestimate China's capabilities, from technology to their military to their propensity to fight a war. Okay, if we're talking about combat experience, all these different types of things. However, I think the first thing we could talk about is the power grid, right? That gets brought up, and I think this is probably the most serious thing to talk about. There's a lot of credibility. There's more credibility in what Nick said in this, although I don't think he really understands what the power grid really is. But like Jake knows, there is severe vulnerabilities in our power grid that China could potentially access. So what is an attack on the power grid actually look like realistically? Because he tried to say, oh, they just hack into the computer and then shut the entire country down. Mm.
Okay.
Now,
So
is that
so
is that how things actually work?
so Nate, let's just be clear. They hacked in and shut down a quarter of the country in the 2004 Northeast power grid shutdown. So so he's not far off, okay?
Was
Now,
that was that did we actually know that China hacked in and did that?
so let me say
I heard
this.
that was I heard that was speculation.
Let me say this.
No, I'm not
We
saying
don't
it
know.
didn't
I
happen.
I don't know who did it, but I was
Yeah.
working in critical infrastructure protection at that time for a consulting firm. Okay. My sponsor is one of the SMEs in the whole country on critical infrastructure protection. So I've done a bunch of red cell work for him, right? And what I'm going to say is Trump shut down all of the transformers. So if you don't know, a transformer transforms
Right.
high voltage or high current electricity into low voltage dissipating current. So like for home use, right? So if you go to
It
those power
takes
wires,
Yeah. It takes guys. If you go to a hydroelectric dam and it's pumping insane electricity out of that, the transformers is what then allows that to be distributed
yes.
to the rest of the network and your home and things like that.
So our build time for a transformer in America is 9 months because every one of
Woof.
them is a custom transformer. Okay, so we were buying a lot of transformers from China. Well, we found a back door. So if you guys don't know what
Right.
a back door is, a back door basically in programming or code allows you to get in through all security measures. Okay. Well, Trump shut that down. And then Biden to open it back up. I don't know the exact number. I'm just going to say 400.
I think it's
400
around
trans
400. I think it was around 450 in the report I saw.
450 transformers
Yeah.
came from China and got put into our services, okay? So, I'm going to say this. But the easiest way to shut them down is like they did in the San Jose transformer attack. They just shot them below the
Yeah.
midline with AK-47s, poked
That's
holes in
what
them.
that's what I want to talk about next is the physical
Okay.
side of things. But keep
So
going.
from the cyber side, absolutely. But here's the deal: they're just as vulnerable as we are.
Well,
Okay,
we're
and
gonna
it's mutually
very
assured destruction.
and
Okay.
let's talk that, okay? And this is a big part of what I think Nick missed, okay? Is that this isn't a one-way range, right? So everything he said was sort of like perspective of a one-way range. This is what China could do to us.
Yep.
Okay. Let's say China manages to shut down some of the power grid. What do you think the United States response is? Do you think we just go,
Immediate.
oops,
Yeah.
no, we immediately shut down
Shut
all
down.
your power as well. And then we'll get a little bit into which populace can handle that before they overthrow their government faster, right? In here in a little bit, because I think that's an
Mm,
interesting
Nate.
topic of conversation. But
I
before,
got this one too. We're gonna talk
yeah,
about this.
we'll get in. But first, let's talk physical infrastructure because I think that is more of a threat of being because, like you said, it doesn't take much to shoot some fucking AK bullets into a transformer. So for me, that's where I think we'd be more susceptible because, like it or not, there are a lot of Chinese nationals currently in our country that could very easily be turned on as sleeper agents to physically attack, whether it be the actual production facilities, more likely the transformers and the distributed networks. I think that's like a more easy target, right? Like targeting a dam is not easy. But
Mm,
like you said,
mm, mm.
um,
Targeting a dam is very easy, Nate. There's no security.
yeah, but I mean, you'd have to. What I mean is, it's a lot harder. You can't just go and shoot some AK-47 bullets into the side of a dam and cut off the power, which you can do. Knock down telephone poles, knock down sort of like shoot holes in transformers. See what I mean?
Okay.
I'm just talking about ease of access from
One
because
you
here's what I think people miss is if let's say this is a hypothetical United States and America are at war, we
Yep.
are not just allowing Chinese nationals free roam to walk right up to our um,
Our
facilities like
dams.
our power.
We're gonna put some people in charge. Yes, I agree with
Right.
that. But I'll tell you what we
Not to
can't
say it's
guard
not
against.
possible because it is. Yeah, the network's huge, right? When
I
you
got
look
one.
at it, but
I got one for you, Nate. And this is the one that like. So when people start talking about critical infrastructure protection, nobody quite understands how hard it is to defend against, call it a million miles of power line. Okay, just high voltage. You know the big ass towers. So if I connect any one of those two lines together with, let's say, a chain, I blow up both transformer stations, the one it's going to and the one it's coming from. Okay. So I want people to understand, like, we're not talking. I don't need a fucking aircraft to disable the power between two nodes. Now, I will say this. I just looked at this maybe 2 weeks ago because someone was talking about the nodes in our power system. Right now, it's 2025. In 2004, when I was working on this stuff, there were no nodes. Everything was one directional.
yeah,
Now, east of Mississippi, they have quadrupled the number of nodes in the system so that they can get around like a blown out transformer station.
right,
Okay.
yeah,
So there's some redundancy, but from a physical side,
yeah,
um, the transformer stations is your biggest weakness, obviously.
right.
You
And
know,
that's that's what I
and what
think. And in the video that I did, I said that's where I'm going to give Nick credence and like, yes, this is a huge threat. It is vulnerable, and actually got a super chat that sort of ties into the reality of if this happened, right? So Plight Designs
Yep.
$10. Thank you, brother. Says China can hack or knock out the power grid, but we can respond to attack via the Three Gorges Dam. Also, their buildings are worse in the structural integrity side of things. So this is a great point in that. Sure, China decides to hack and target and fucking shut down a bunch of our power and fuck up our power grid, and then the United States responds, right? And we most likely turn off the power to China for the rest of their human existence. What does that mean? Mutually assured destruction. Okay, so the way I look at it, attacking the power grid is much like nuclear weaponry. If you decide to
Yep.
do it, and this is why you haven't seen it in Russia and Ukraine, right? Everybody had all the worries that Russia was going to attack the power grid and attack the nuclear facilities, and they didn't. Why? Because once you decide to do that, and the other side decides to do that to you, then we get into, well, what happens to the population when the power's turned out? And this is where I think this is why China is not going to play this game right? When we talk about actual cultures, who has more self sustainability, the Chinese people or Americans? Let's ask yourself that, and then we'll get into what culturally what a collapse of a country actually looks like. Because China has what's a 5,000-year-old part of their culture called the mandate of heaven, which is extremely important when you talk about society beginning to collapse within the government. It's actually the government of China's biggest fear is its own people, right? They spend more on internal defense than they do on external defense by far. And we can talk a little bit about that because I think that's important to say of like, okay, we shut off the power. We also shut off the power in China. Then what happens? Does the war
So
continue?
so here's what I'm gonna say because I'm a big prepper. Okay. And if, I'm gonna encourage everybody to go look at the 1 second after. Go wiki, put in 1 second after, read the book, okay? And understand this: 95% of the United States population lives on the coast. Okay, the population decrease after 1 year with no power will be 95%. There will be
Oh,
5% of the United States population. Nate made a point, and I'm going to give a timeline. You have 96 hours with no power before you have absolute Armageddon. And you can, if you don't believe me, go down there and look at what happened in Katrina.
in
48
in the
hours.
inner cities, in the big cities.
So this is how you got to define it. The
It takes a little
population
bit. It
decrease.
takes a little bit longer to hit the rural areas, but
But
yes,
but
I agree.
in the Midwest, they only expect a 50% population drop,
Right.
right? Because you don't have the population density and you have resources. So I
Yep.
tell everybody, I'm in San Antonio. If the power goes out for fucking 2 days, you won't find me in San Antonio,
Right.
okay? Because there are no resources here, none. There's no food, there's no water, and there's 3 million fucking people with a lot of guns. Everybody's getting
Yeah.
fucking killed. I
Yep.
got 3 kids and a wife, one bullet wound, and I'm fucking losing somebody. So I can't have no gunfights, right? And that's the part of it where we talk about like this mutually assured destruction. Now, here's the other aspect of this that we need to talk about. You've got to understand in critical infrastructure protection, I don't have to take out the whole network. I just have to take out enough to make sure that no one can power up their equipment without branding out the system. So what do I mean? If I go to Florida and I decrease their power consumption or their power production by 25%, I basically can shut down all of Florida because when everybody tries to turn on all their shit, they're going to brown out the system because they're trying to pull too much from it. And you can't do nothing about it, right? Like I don't have to shut down 100% of the system to get the country to go into fucking fail state. But I kind of agree with you, Nate. Like we're playing, you're talking about like, hey, like it's gonna get real quick. Now, the
So
other thing to think about
this
is
was kind of my point with that is we know how that works in America, right? We talk about that big of population loss, things like that. Now look at China and Chinese society, where the government controls everything. There are no resources for the populace. There are no guns for them. But however, like I said, with the mandate of heaven, and this goes back to the emperors in 4000 BC. It's always been this way, much how Mao actually took power. What the mandate of heaven is, and it's very important for leadership in China for you guys to understand the viewership. Mandate of heaven is basically the idea that the gods have instilled power into the ruler of China. Okay, so that's how he rules divinely. So Xi Jinping rules from divine authority essentially. But the requirement of that is he has to do so justly, and he has to basically uphold a positive society, right? So when the power gets shut off in China and that real war starts and all the infrastructure evaporates and people are starving to death, right? And they don't have the ability to go get things, the people will revolt. This is what the Chinese people do. They've done it for 5,000 years. And they're going to overthrow that government much faster than the United States, the people of the United States who are far more patriotic and all these types of things, right? Because you kind of have in China, the government controls everything, right? But the people of China don't necessarily like hate their government all the time. But you don't have this like insane devout patriotism like you do in Texas, right? Where people are going to defend the country like all the way to the bitter end. The Chinese people are much more apt to actually just overthrow their government and stop the war, right? And instill something else.
and
So, but again,
and
that's you're mutually like now if that's happening in the United States and China at the same time, what war is being fought? Because both populations are in chaos, right? Now you maybe open up the doors to other countries getting involved in the chaos, which is most likely what would happen, right? But as for this direct war, when the power gets shut off, like, well, here's the thing: if I'm a soldier, I'm at home with my family, homie. I'm not showing up to work. If I'm a police officer, I'm making sure my family's protected, and that's happening in China
And
too. So
and understand this. China has 25 cities bigger than New York City.
yeah,
Okay?
oh yeah,
They have a 1.4 billion population, 95% of it on the coast, on one coast.
yeah.
Okay? So just do the math. They might last 48 hours without power.
And when you talk about just natural resources, big part of it. America is the like one of, if not the most natural resource rich countries in the entire planet from everything. Timber, food, agriculture, oil, natural gas, like you name it, we got it. China is the opposite of that. China is incredibly natural resource poor. They have to import. Now, they're a manufacturing giant. Okay, that's where China brings all their GDP and their money in through manufacturing. But they're not when it comes to agriculture. They have most of their country is completely unfarmable land. They don't have hardly any access to oil. And like Jake said, if I want to turn off your power, I'm going to turn off your natural resources too. Because 85 to 90% of China's oil comes from the Middle East through the sea, down through the Strait of Malacca, up through the South China Sea, up through the Strait of Taiwan. And who all along that route, who's there? All of American allies, right?
Uh-uh,
Indonesia,
uh-uh,
Australia,
uh-uh,
Taiwan,
uh-uh.
Taiwan,
Uh,
or Taiwan, Okinawa, Japan,
let me give
Thailand.
you let me give you
So
one better, Nate.
that
Let me
naval
give
route, my point is that oil naval route that China is completely required on to run their country, that goes bye-bye. And that's just outside of America's submarines and fucking
That's
navy
all
that
I
just
wanted you to say. That's all I
which
wanted you to
that's we're just
say,
going to
Nate. That's
instantly
all I
sink
wanted
your
you to
oil
say.
tankers. But so
Yeah.
again, guys, are you starting to get the picture of why really the talk about China? And again, I'm not saying that China wouldn't fuck us up. I'm saying we would destroy each other, and America would most likely be the country that somehow continues to exist in some form. But the idea that China crushes the United States in any capacity by its like without it's just not realistic. I don't think.
Like let's say like 1 second after is based on a Chinese pulse, EMP, right? We all got EMP weapons now. They ain't no fucking secret, okay? And like it's the same thing. Like you can't have a war like they're having in Ukraine with real powers, right? Like
So,
somebody's
but
gonna step
but
up.
Jake, I think the war in Ukraine with Russia is a great it's a great case study of why all of these advanced weapons really don't matter. Nukes, EMPs, shutting off the power grid, because why hasn't any of that happened in Ukraine, Russia? Because both sides know the second one of us does this, both of our countries fucking evaporate. So it's
Yeah.
almost like this technology is so high that it does, even if you do go to First World War between Russia and Ukraine, they're fighting with tanks and trenches and drones, right? They're not even using their advanced technology because, again, mutually assured destruction. So if we went to
Yeah.
war with China, I don't think like you can't even use this type of stuff. Or again, like your navy disappears overnight. So does ours. All our aircraft carriers gone. Just subsonic fucking warheads come down. Those are going to evaporate instantly.
Yeah.
So
The supersonic sunscreen.
or people talk
Yeah.
about like, oh, the navies and this and that. It's like, well, our navy is gonna just slow roll our ass from the west coast through the Pacific Ocean all the way to the mainland China and drop troops off, and vice versa. Probably
Well,
not,
well,
guys.
well, Nate, 1999, 1997, I'm on a ship, and we know China's doctrine: launch 1,000 missiles at every ship, and it will sink because it only has enough bullets in its anti-aircraft guns to shoot down like eight aircraft. So we'll
Yeah,
just launch 1,000 at each one, and then we're
yeah,
we're guaranteed we're good. Like
yeah.
that's the thing that like I'd be in the little meetings, and I was like, "Yo, this don't make a lot of sense, man. Like, you might have a better plan for this." So, what else we need to cover on China, man? That
Uh,
was a hot one, brother.
real quick. So super chat from Polite Designs, $10. Thank you again, brother. Also with the cyber side, who's to say we don't have a Stuxnet where we can talk about that in a sec, or sitting or Stuxnet sitting in China ready to go. We're also doing this in a vacuum, assuming that all the neighbors who don't like China won't respond. That's a good point as well. That's sort of what I was just mentioning of like we have a lot of allies in that South China Sea also, and China has no allies on our continent, right? So that's a big problem. Also, you got Mongolia sitting right there who hates China's fucking guts and is just looking for a reason to exact some revenge. Okay, but talking about the digital side, Stuxnet. Do you know about Stuxnet virus, Jake? All right, so I'll just let everybody in the chat know because it's kind of a niche thing. But so the Stuxnet basically was a virus. This was probably 10-ish years ago. Polite will probably give me the exact dates. But essentially, what it was a virus that um, they eventually found. This tech company in California basically found it on all their computers, and then basically they found it on every computer, really from America all the way into Europe. And this virus basically was a dormant virus that did nothing. But eventually, what it did is it would hop from computer to computer, not doing anything until it found Iranian nuclear facilities. And once it got into those Iranian nuclear facilities, it basically, and again, my details might be a little fuzzy. It's been 10 years since I watched the documentary on this. The virus then activated and turned those nuclear facilities on into full ramp, and they couldn't shut them off, and it basically just melted down Iran's nuclear reactors. No one knows how that virus got made. They had like US Silicon Valley tech companies trying to reverse engineer this virus, and they couldn't do it. It was so advanced that they couldn't, that it had to have been done basically at a nation level. Of course, the
Yeah.
assumption is Israel, in conjunction with the United States, developed this virus to be used because it was so specific. So, and that was 10, 15 years ago. You imagine technology now does, but
With
does
AI?
with AI? Yeah. So I think that's a good
Mm.
point. I mean, when we talk about digital attacks, and we're looking again, this is a lens of like, oh, we're only talking about China. When we talk about digital attacks, I can assure you, America is very, very good at hacking and digital attacks too, and cyber warfare. The type of stuff we have
And
going on in Silicon
and
Valley and in the basement of the Pentagon. Yeah.
I'm gonna say this state sponsored hacking, right? Russia and China are two of the top players. Okay. And this goes back to kind of what you were saying, Nate. It ain't helping Russia right now in Ukraine.
Yep.
Okay. Like
Not at
like
all.
because they can't play the shut the power grid down game, right? And
Yep.
so, or like my thing is they can't hack the hit airplanes. I mean, hell, we're using fiber optic drones, so they can't hack the drones, right? Like
Yep.
all of this stuff sounds great, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna say it like this: we're America. We ain't got no problem fighting. We ain't
Yeah.
like I
Oh,
ain't.
that's last one I want to talk about because you just brought it up. We're America. We ain't got no problem fighting. That's the most important thing. So many people who haven't haven't been in the military and really haven't trained, don't understand the military, don't understand or been in real combat. And I can tell you from a guy, my first combat mission to my 20th combat mission, the difference in my own skill and capability of what's going on around me was drastically enormous just due to my own combat experience that I built up over time. The United States, hate it or love it, right? We are the most battle tested military basically in world history from a duration point, right? 20 years of the last global war on terror. Ukraine's going to get pretty close if they keep fighting a first world peer-to-peer conflict like that. But who are we talking about fighting here? China? You in the chat know the last time that China went to war and who it was with? 1979 with Vietnam, right after us. And they fucking lost, right? And that was their neighbor. It wasn't like us trying to fight a war across the world. That's right there, right? So
Right there.
China has no combat experience. They are
And
probably the most untested. Now, if you talk about all the first world countries, Britain, Australia, Russia, Ukraine, right? All of these countries have been fighting for the last 20 years in some capacity. Middle East, Ukraine, Russia. China hasn't. Even North Korea's in the game, bro. North Korea is more battle tested than China. So when you're talking about completely untested, all you're talking about generals, high level leadership, none of them have any war or combat experience. It's all theoretical. And then you want to fight against the greatest and most battle tested military that's ever existed, probably in the last, with the highest technology in the last 100 years. I don't know, man. If I'm going to put my money on one of the two of those, I don't think I'm going to put my money on the football team that just picked up playing football last week, right, against the Patriots. Like that's not the way I'm gonna guess on it. But what's your thought on that for
Or
actual
Nate,
like
I'm gonna
what
go
these
this
wars look
way.
like?
I'm gonna go this way. Okay, the cultural difference between China and America could not be greater.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you think, you know what everybody else's opinion of us is, they think we're fucking John Wayne in
yep.
one of those Western movies. They fucking like guns and fucking like dog. We have
Well,
no
but it's
problem.
not far off the
It's not.
truth.
It's not. But
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
fight. Like we
yeah.
you know like I want to bring mild kindergarten fights back to like America. Like we need to have some fighting because like that's what we do. We don't have no problem fighting, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to China, all the fish swim in the same direction, right? I don't know what the saying is, but I know what it is. All the fish swim in the same direction. Don't swim in
Yeah.
the other direction with the fish, right?
Yep.
It is a docile environment. Now, they're gonna say, oh,
100%.
well, we can fight. Okay, great, but it ain't your fucking personality. You guys don't have fist fights in fucking grade
Well,
school,
and,
right?
and
Like,
culturally, they never have, right? There's a reason why Japan marched through all of China and just obliterated China in World
yep,
War II, right? Like, and
yep,
it's why China got bulldozed in the Korean War. It's why China got bulldozed by Vietnam. China culturally has not demonstrated that they are a warrior society. And you need a warrior society if you want to fight a one-on war. You know who does have warrior societies, whether you like it or not? Russia. Russia's willing to stack bodies to eternity, bro. And they have done it for 100 years. They don't care. They will
yep,
send everybody to fight, right? And Ukraine's the same way. Now, again, that's obviously just basic ethnic Russians, right? But
yeah, yeah,
these are warrior societies. America's another warrior society. Japan used to be, obviously not anymore, but those are the type of societies. Germany, right? Hitler's Germany, no compliments to that, but that was a warrior society. These are the societies that in war, look at Germany. They almost took over the entire world. People talk about numbers, right? And
yeah, yeah,
technology. It's
yeah,
like
yep,
Germany fought half the fucking world and almost won, right? As a fucking small country, okay? So the warrior class societies win the wars, right? In my opinion. And so if I'm gonna, and that was another thing Nick Urban said in his video that I really didn't like. There's a lot of disparage on the current generation of military soldiers. A lot of talk about how, they're not ready to fight and they just want to wear dresses and all this different shit. What I think is that was like the worst part of that whole video to me is because you and I know, as guys, I got out recently. You're mentoring young generations. Is there some crazy DEI shit in the military? Sure. Is that indicative of all the young men and women who want to serve their nation? Fuck no, right? I just left a year and a half ago. 99.9% of young SF dudes are like fucking hitters, like training nonstop, ready to go. You know what I mean?
let me
And
say
that's
this,
that's
Nate.
not that's not going away, in the near future for sure.
We got about a million active duty troops. Okay, I guarantee you and I could go out there and find another 5 million savages to fight for this country.
Oh, and a real fucking like the country's going to end if not. Yeah, for sure.
Like that, bro.
Yep.
Like, I mean, think about this. I told my wife, I was like, fuck, I'll go drive a ship. I can't do SF no more, but I'll go be a fucking ship captain.
Well, you
I'll
can
fight the
also.
fuck out of this ship.
It's the same reason why in Robin Sage all the G chiefs are my dad's era, and they're the ones that run shop. Man, I might not be able to fight, but this is still intact, and this
Yep.
knows how to do war. And so for everybody
Yep.
that thinks like, oh well, the global war on terror is ending, yeah, but you know how many sergeant majors and team sergeants and commanders have been fighting the global war on terror for the last 20 years who are still in? And not just that, guys who are retired, you think couldn't be, former sergeant majors and team sergeants can't be reactivated to fight a real war? Like me and Jake, I can guarantee you, if we went to real war with China, both of our asses would be pulled back in. I'm talking
Yeah,
first
yeah.
world. Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
back,
like
right?
we're
Like,
all fucking going, bro. Like I don't want my
yeah,
kids to have to fight this war. You don't want your kids to have to fight this war, right? Like, and that's what I told my wife. Like I would love just to fly. Like maybe I'll go fly transports across America. Like I will be doing something,
yeah.
because I'm not gonna let my fucking kids go get fucking hacked up. And if we don't win, that's what happens,
Or training the dudes, man.
or
Training and
training,
teaching the
right?
dudes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, I got two super chats.
Yeah,
Fire
yeah, me as
conversation
well.
about China. Hey, what's your number right now? Because my number is
Almost
astronomical.
almost 500.
I'm at 463, bro. Like
All
we
right, we're cooking, dude.
we doing well, man. Hey, Richard Channel, appreciated it. $5, great show. Do you think our country's high gun ownership makes it impossible to invade? What state would have the best militia? I'm gonna jump on this one first. So Japan has a saying when they were asked why you never invaded the United States, because there's a gun behind every blade of grass.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
that
I love
statement
that
is
saying. I love that saying. Yeah.
100% true. And then I'm gonna tell you this: Texas has tried to been its own state like 3 or 4 different times. It has the 11th GDP in the world. I live in Texas and I ain't
Yeah, I
fucking
know,
going
right?
nowhere because
Yeah.
when if this shit goes down, Texas is gonna be a
Texas,
kick ass country.
Texas, Texas by itself, right? If you just took what Texas had, would be probably one of the most formidable. When you take the people of Texas, like the military's National Guard, probably be one of the most formidable militaries in the world. Just Texas by itself, and that's not me kidding. I mean, that's really realistically is probably true. Are you on my? Are you looking at my live? I had the exact same comment.
Uh, let me tell you something. I'm not gonna say yes or no, but I am on your live. Let me
Hopefully,
go look at.
hopefully you haven't
Hang on,
been.
man. Wait, is that possible? How is it not letting me see? Oh my God, Nate. Nate, I'm only 53, Nate. Maybe
More
sometime in
dinosaur
the
shit. Well, because you said your numbers, and I looked at mine, I'm like, wait, we have the exact same numbers, and then
exact
you
same
read the
numbers,
comment off, and I'm like, oh,
that
I just have
motherfucker.
that comment too.
You're like, oh, this dude's still in my
Well,
shit,
hopefully you didn't
man.
miss fucking super
Hang
chats
on,
over on your
I'm gonna go
live.
get him. I'm gonna go get him real quick. Let me go get him.
All right,
Let
let me
me.
read off the rest of these while you figure that out.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Flight Design's $10. They got equipment into the air gap network. I'm assuming this is the Stuxnet response, and it attacked the Siemens protocol and system. A guy took the laptop out of the air gap, and that's how it went wild. It used 30 days to work. Yeah, I remember. I we learned about the Stuxnet in the 18 Echo course a long time ago, but it's been a decade since I've seen the story. But yeah, definite. We had that technology what 10, 15 years ago. You can only imagine what we got now. All right, from Grand Bear, what's up, brother? $2, thank you. China can send their terracotta army, their Timu army, dude. That's
Timu. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so hey, we still killing it. I got 300
even though
in
you're in the
mine.
wrong live.
I was in the wrong live. I got 300 in the real
Even this
live.
is so live.
I didn't miss any super chats, even though I
All right,
read
good.
all of Nate's super chats. I thought it was odd that we were both getting the same super chats, but don't worry, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All
Also,
right.
I think a big one when we talk about Chinese tech, people forget that again, China is the world's leader in manufacturing, not technology. Okay, and there's a reason why China spends so much time hacking. Is that they have very poor self-developed technology, so they are constantly stealing intellectual property from the West. That's how China. If you look at pretty much every China, every Chinese naval ship, all of their new
Oh yeah.
aircraft, and like
Oh
put
yeah.
them
Oh
side
yeah.
by side next to America's, which makes you wonder, like, I wonder where you got the design to the F-35, right? But yeah, they're not developing their own stuff, guys. And so when that, and let's talk about their superconductors, right? China can't produce their own advanced tech superconductors. They have to get those through Taiwan. Which,
Taiwan.
if
Thus
that
the
war kicks
reason they're
off, do
going.
you think Taiwan is going to support China? Fuck no, right? So that all disappears too. So all those, supersonic warheads and laser guided munitions and all this stuff that China has, they no longer have the chips to make any more of those. Okay, so that's another big part of like understanding when people say China has better tech than the United States. That's not. It's not even really close, guys. Okay, that's not what their big focus is. Now, their GDP for manufacturing is astronomical, and yes, much of we get what we get in America is tied. Our GDPs are so tied closely together. But that's just. I think that's the ultimate on why this war won't happen in whatever foreseeable until like China and the American economies become decoupled somehow, right? Which maybe 20, 30 years from now that happens. I don't know. But like right now, think about all the billion. This is what I like to say. Think about all the why you won't go to war. If it's not profitable, okay, the billionaires ain't going to do it, right? Because if you destroy both societies, the billionaires don't have their playground anymore, right? So all the people in power don't want America to turn into the Stone Age, and they don't want China to turn into the Stone Age. And you think about all the billionaires, how much money they're making off of each other, China and the United States. ain't nobody, and our politicians even, right? In the short term, ain't nobody in power letting us go to war with China. It doesn't
And
make sense.
the other thing I'm gonna say, Nate, and this is something I've been looking at pretty heavily because I'm into social engineering and all this other stuff, right? China and Japan are in trouble population wise.
Yes, that's
Like
another big one.
they're in trouble. And they
Yep.
don't like everything I'm reading says they can't do anything about it. They're missing 30 years of people
Yep.
when they both went to the one child and Japan had the thing, and now the age of virginity in Japan is like 34, and
Yeah, it's
they're
crazy.
not procreating, and it's like, oh my god, like they're talking about a complete collapse, a complete collapse in 20 years. No working population at all in either country.
And if you don't have a working population, do you know what population's required to fight the wars? The 18 to
That's
30-year-old population,
that
which you
same
don't have, you're not
population.
going to have any of in about 15 years. Oh, also, I got a super chat from Dan Castelli. Wants to let Jake know that you did miss your super chats. So apparently you've been getting
Wait,
them, but
okay, hang on, wait. No, no, no. I know. Hang on. I know how to
you got to
wait.
be able to like scroll all the way back up through it.
I can filter top messages by money. I did it. Hang on. I got it. I got it. Okay, here we go. Let's roll.
All
Okay,
right.
we're not totally out of the dark yet.
All
Okay,
right.
Dan Castillo, much respect. You guys are in the middle. Suck. Do you occupy your mind? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a thought of one female that I think about, and it was magical, and I can think about that for fucking like 6 hours and just zone out.
Oh, you mean
Um,
like in the shitty parts of training?
yeah, and the shitty parts, like, what do you think about, right? Like, I
Yeah.
I I think about that a lot. That
Your
would be my
mind, I'll tell you
go-to.
this, your mind wanders, guys. You think about a lot of just fucking weird, crazy shit when you're just on, running forever, or just fucking walking for your 5, 10 miles or whatever you're doing. Your
Yep.
brain goes to some weird, weird places, guys. I'll tell you that.
Okay, Kangaroo Bot, $5. What are some books you guys have read that you'd recommend? Relentless and then Overachievement are my two books. John Elliott, Overachievement, Relentless by Tim Grover.
Okay, two books I really like. The number one, which I think everybody should read, because it actually had a huge impact for me. Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Marilee Adams. Okay, that entire book is all about reframing the way that you look at the world, right? So it's basically the opposite of victim mentality. Okay, so when anything happens, whether it's bad, good, somebody does something to you, the idea is like, what am I saying to myself? All right. So let's say I got to do something shitty that comes up. There's a mission I don't want to do. All right. If I if the question to me is, oh, this is bullshit, and we shouldn't have been the ones chosen to do this, and I don't want to have to do this, that's going to affect my mentality going forward. But if I change the question in my head of the way I'm talking to myself of like, hey, this is what I signed up for. I've got the boys with me. We're going to make this a good time. It's going to reframe the entire mission. And you can do that with your entire life, right? And with the way people treat you. Somebody treats you like shit, you can choose to fucking take that to heart, be upset about it, be pissed off, or you can change your question and be like, I wonder why this guy said this to me. Maybe he's suffering, right? Maybe he's depressed, he's lashing out, and all of a sudden you take the power away from that. So that book's fantastic. And then I also really like The Daily Stoic, which it's a big compilation of quotes from guys like Marcus Aurelius and a bunch of sort of the warrior warrior poets from back in the day. So that's a really good book as well. Real quick,
Awesome,
super
brother.
chats. Dan Stelly, $2. I wrote Jake. That was my autocorrect. All good, brother. M. Corbin, what's up, buddy? Weaponized brain rot. Yeah, TikTok. TikTok's kind of scary for affecting the youth, right? But at this point, I don't know if it's like shit. I don't know. Their brains are getting rotted from every fucking direction. That's a
We need
long term.
we
Now,
need to
if you want to talk
kill
about
social
if
media.
if you want to talk about 100 years from now, okay, that's a different discussion of what America and what China look like. I don't know, but I can say, potentially because China has a 100-year plan and the United States has a fucking 48-hour plan, that there is potential in the long run that maybe China overtakes America. But I don't believe that any nation that lives in sort of like Jake said, with that one-way stream mentality where everybody has to think the same and everybody has to toe the line. I just don't think that any society that does that can overtake a society built on freedom and democracy. And It just hasn't
And
proven to be
guns.
that. Yeah, and guns. It just
And guns.
the last 100 years have just not demonstrated that to be the case whatsoever, right? You have all the places that chose capitalism flourished, all the places that chose communism for the most part collapsed. Okay, so and not that capitalism is democracy, but you guys probably get my point a little bit. Where China's going to be limited by their culture. I think much more than unless they change, right? If all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we're democratic now," which I don't think they can do because the people in power can't relinquish the power, right? But if they
That ain't
did it,
happening. That
who
ain't
knows? But
happening.
yeah, that would take a big culture shift.
All right, last super chat for me, Kevin Bacon. Shout out. I'm gonna call you as soon as I get off this phone call to make sure you don't make the dumbass mistakes that cats make at flight school. Yet another cat going to fly for us.
Hell yeah, dude.
Woo! Big bangers on Sunday, Nate.
Yeah, I got one more. Plight Designs again, $10. Thanks, brother. Is there a chance to get a tabletop from you guys and others about responding to disasters and other incidents from weather to zombies? We had tornadoes in Indiana and got me thinking. Yeah, we could probably do that on one of these episodes.
I'm telling you, me and Nate, me and Jay dropped into North Carolina during the hurricane to go find some people or the flooding, and it changed the way I look at a lot of things. Like we were
Yeah.
good, but my first thing is if you're looking for somebody, you got to go find somebody, spend 24 hours flooding the internet with, hey, I'm looking for this guy. Because we were an hour and a half away from getting on target, and we got a phone call, and some lady on on Facebook, sent us a picture of our guy in the front yard grilling, feeding the 90-year-old across the street.
Oh my
So
God, that's crazy, man. All right, and
awesome,
last
brother.
one, Grand Bear, $2. Should active duty be banned from TikTok? I don't think active duty should be banned from having TikTok, but 100 fucking percent be banned from posting fucking TikToks in uniform. For the love of God, can we please stop? Stop. And that's to me, it's just a professionalism thing. If you want to use social media and you're an active duty soldier, I don't care, man. I'm all for it. But like, you need to decouple what you're doing on social media from the professionalism of the uniform. Because while you're wearing that uniform, people think, oh, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Because while I'm wearing that uniform, I am a representative of the United States military, the Army, Green Berets, Navy SEAL. So the things I'm doing are basically indicative technically of what the military is allowing me to do. Okay, so when you have some fucking Green Beret lieutenant colonel dancing around like a shithead in full uniform and beret on TikTok, yeah, I got a problem with that. Because again, it takes away from the professionalism that's been established by that Green Beret, right? And I'm sure, if Jake would have seen some fucking Navy SEAL in full fucking uniform and trident fucking dance around to salsa, he'd be saying the same shit, man. It's like, I don't care. I'm all about it, dude. Have that fucking, have your Latin webpage and your TikTok and do your dances, but no, not in uniform, man. That it's just not appropriate. There's no situation where that is appropriate or needed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to be a killer when you look like you're dances with stars. You know.
Yeah, dude. All right. Yeah, whoosh, hour and a half. Crush this one. Another good episode, guys. I think we're
Cutting it.
good. Cutting it. Hour and a
Yeah,
half.
I'm
All right,
cutting
everybody.
both of them at. Hey man, appreciate everybody, man. Bring the love. We're all growing. Nate's up there on gas at 130. We're getting
Whew.
there, man. We're getting there.
Also, quick shout out, okay? If you're interested in my Patreon, we're revamping it. We're going fucking full bore into Patreon. All the stuff I can't show you on YouTube, firearms content, nutrition, fitness, all that. Probably get some private shit going. Maybe get Jake to come on, do some private lives. We'll figure it out. So if you want to, in my YouTube, you'll see the Patreon channel. Go sign up if you want. Sports channel, cool. Thank you. And then thank you always to Jake. Also, guys, I'll probably be down in Texas here in about 2-3 weeks.
Ooh,
So
we're gonna
me and
shoot it
Jake,
up.
are
We're
gonna
gonna
do some
shoot.
fucking some content, some in-person podcasting when I get out there. Should be good. So look
Absolutely,
forward to
brother.
that. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for coming out. I'm shutting her down.
I'm waiting for it.
All right.
Um,